Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to explore RestClient from Spring Framework 6 and Spring Boot 3. Recently I answered a question from Reddit asking if is there any resource to get production experience. From my thought, we can start getting familiar with production depending on how much we understand about our system and the tools components we're using. System side can be hard for junior level, but I think understanding tools components is the simplest and must go way to get started in gaining production experience at any level. Let's take RestClient as an example. Follow the documentation. We know that the RestClient can be used safely by multiple threads, so it's thread-safe. It means that for some cases, one instance of RestClient is enough for our entire service. So, if we create an instance inside every request code method, here and here, in other words, one instance will be created for each method code and only be deleted when garbage collector is triggered. Your heap memory will increase faster than configuring it the right way, and the garbage collecting happens more frequently, affects our service performance, especially in production when the load is high. So don't create a REST-client instance in every method in your service client class. Instead, some cases, one instance is enough. And we can initialize it at a singleton bin and auto-write into a class when needed. For example, we have hello service client, and we will auto-write a REST-client from the bin we define here into our hello service client class and use it for any method in the service client. Most of the time, we need to create one instance per class. For example, let's say we have hello service client that's responsible for calling hello service and hi service client that's responsible for calling hi service, and they may have different domains. For example, hello service would have helloservice.com domain and hi service would have hiservice.com domain. They also have different secure mechanism authentication authorization. For example, we need all up to client credential token for hello service to call hello service and client credential token for hi service to call hi service. For these cases, we'd like to create a separate REST-client for our separate class that's responsible for its external service. Basically, we have two external service, hello service and hi service, and we will create one instance REST-client for hello service and one instance REST-client for hi service. We're not using the singleton instance here. So, never use the first one. Depends on the service complexity, we can choose the second and the third approach. Okay, before we move to the next step, create a REST client. Let's create our service. REST-client demo is where we're playing with REST-client, and hello service demo is where our testing API is placed. For both of them, we're going to use Radle Java Spring Boot version 3.2.5, Java 21, and only web dependency. Same here for REST-client demo. Okay, let's download them and unzip and open them in your favorite IDE. I already opened them in my IntelliJ. For example, build Radle. Okay, only web dependency and hello service demo. Build Radle, only web dependency. Okay, let's take a look at our hello service demo. This is the simple one, so we just need to add one hello API for our REST-client demo code too. That's it. And the port of this service is 8080 for our REST-client demo. This service will listen on port 8081, and we're going to have one controller class and one service client class. In writing controller, we simply delegate to our hello service client, and this hello service client will be responsible for calling our hello service. Okay, let's configure our REST client. Private final REST client. So here we will follow the third way, create one instance per class. We're going to use it to call our hello API in our hello service. So we use this REST-client to call get API /hello and retrieve it as a string. and we're going to initialize this RESTClient from constructor. Then let's back to our README to see how to create a RESTClient. So in Spring Framework, we can create a RESTClient from its static methods, the create and builder. So for example, you can create RESTClient.create and RESTClient.builder with other configuration, RequestFactory, base URL, message converter, for example, and you build. So take a look. So this is actually the documentation here. Create a RESTClient. Okay, let's try it. Then we can use RESTClient.create. So this static method, so we don't use this. So basically we have a new instance. We now have a new instance of RESTClient. Then let's run it. Hello server. Let's run our hello server. So /hello, right? Port 8080 /hello is our hello server. Then let's run it and back to our here localhost 8080 hello http. Okay, to make sure it works. And then run. And then we're going to call to port 8081 rating. Okay. Localhost 8081 rating. Then hello world. So we successfully calling our hello server from our RESTClient demo. And we can also use the builder as well. Builders. And here we're using the base URL. And for base URL, we're going to pass this one, localhost 8080 and build. Okay, so run it again and call it. Okay, successful as well. Let's back to our README. And if we're using Spring Boot, we have another way. Is auto-wire the RESTClient builder. Then let's check it. So we can auto-wire a RESTClient builder. Name it builder. This builder is auto-configured for us by Spring Boot. In the auto-configuration RESTClient auto-configuration class, and then we can use it. Builder. Base URL, build, and let's restart server. Okay, send again, then successful as well. So if we use Spring Boot, so using the RESTClient builder beans is strongly advised to inject it in our components and use it to create a RESTClient builder to create our RESTClient for a server client class. And if you're interested in what are configured by Spring Boot, you can take a look at the RESTClient auto configuration. This is the RESTClient builder bin auto created by Spring Boot, and you can see the type of the bin is prototyped. So it means that one new instance will be created for each invoking auto wiring. Let's back to our README. So now we are going to set a timeout for our RESTClient. So at the moment, there's no way to set timeout directly in the RESTClient object. So the timeout is set through the RequestFactory. So we have to set them through the client HTTP RequestFactory of this RESTClient. But each type of client HTTP RequestFactory has its own structure and they differ from others. So for example, we have Symbol Client HTTP RequestFactory and GDK Client HTTP RequestFactory. And in Symbol Client, we can set both connection timeout and read timeout on the RequestFactory itself. But in GDK Client, we can only set read timeout. So this is the read timeout is actually the response timeout, and the connection timeout is the connection timeout. So in GTK client, we can only set the response timeout in the request factory. And in order to set the connection timeout, we have to depend on the internal HTTP client. And then that's why here we have to create internal HTTP client with the connection timeout, and then we pass it into the GTK client request factory constructor. And if in the end, we're going to inject it into the RESTClient builder request factory. Okay. Spring simplify the configuration of the underlying component, the GTK client request factory, the symbol client HTTP request factories by using the client HTTP request factory setting and client HTTP request factories. So basically, we only need to declare a setting. So for example, in this setting, we define the connection timeout, the red timeout, connection timeout for 1 second, and the response timeout for 5 seconds. And then we can create whatever type of the request factory that we want with that setting. For example, here I would like to create a GTK client request factory class of this request factory setting on it. This connection timeout is 1 second and red timeout is 5 seconds. And then with the line activity request factory, we can do it. And then at the end as well, we're going to inject we put the request factory into the request factory here. So let's copy it and to our client here. So if you take a look at the get method here, it's a static method. And so here I'm passing the GTK client request factories. So that's why it's going to create the GTK client request factory for us. So if you take a symbol here, so and that's it. Okay. Let's take the GTK client HTTP request factory for this time. Then inject request factory and request factory. That's it. Let's run it, restart it, and check it. So we have the response timeout in 5 seconds here. Then let's sleep for 6 seconds. Okay, then we now have the time unit of second of sleep, and I'm going to sleep for 6 seconds. And let's see restart. Okay, then let's send a request. Loading. Okay, we run into an error, and what's we going to face? So a timeout exception. So we exit the red timeout, the response timeout here. Okay, that's it. That's work as we expected. Let's move on to the next step. RestClient Interceptor. So the interceptor is where we can intercept the request and a response, and to do, for example, modify the request or modify the response, locking your request and locking your response, for example. And we can have the request interceptor in the RestClient builder to add our request interceptor. Because the request interceptor is a functional interface, so we can pass it at a lambda expression like this. For example, just copy it and hello here, and we are going to add our interceptor, request interceptor. So basically, you see the class expected here is client HTTP request interceptor, client HTTP request interceptor. So it's a functional interface, and it have one method, request, body, and execution. So let's paste here. Okay, HTTP response. So same as filters. So we have before we see the line here. So this is the important. So we execute the request and we get the response. So before this line, we can modify the request, the sending request, and after this line we have the response, and then you can modify the response as well. So basically, with this symbol lambda inversion, we're going to add a lock here. So for you see, before really intercept, before really send it to the downstream interceptor, we just lock the lambda interceptor, modify the request, and modify after receiving a response, something like that. Let's check it. So let's turn it back. So don't need to throw any exceptions. Restart hello server and RestClient. Let's restart. Then send. Okay. So we see that the lock was printed as expected. Okay. Then the second thing we can define is add a class. So basically, we just only need to implement the client activity request interceptor. And let's copy this one, for example. Okay, let's create it here. And I'm going to copy the whole class. So in this class, besides logging something like same trace propagation like activity request, logging before sending a request, and this is where we send a request to the downstream interceptor or to our external server. So we are going to add two headers to our request, so chase ID and span ID, just simply the UUID, like a random UUID for whatever, and then we can add it back into our RestClient. Here we can add another interceptor here and new. Okay, and that's it. And restart our server. And in hello server, we're going to add a header, and then let's put the breakpoint here. Run it. Then we're going to send a rating, and we see header, and here we have span IDs and trace ID. And back to our server. Be aware that here, so we add the new request. So we have the request interceptor, and be aware that the order is matter like filter as well. So for example, we have the lambda interceptors before the trace propagation line activity request interceptor. So basically, if you take a look at the log here, you will see when the request come to the lambda interceptors, we will bring this before sending request. Then it's go to the trace propagation line. This will string. So this is this two. So this log is going to print it, and then we go to our hello server, and then when the response is back, so it's first encounter our trace first. So trace interceptor, and after that it's back to our lambda interceptor. Okay, that's what is expected. Let's run it to confirm it again. Okay, and send, and then we'll see lambda interceptor before sending request, the trace propagation before sending request, and after that we to modify after receiving a response from trace interceptor, and the last one is lambda interceptor after receiving response. So that's it. Remember, so it's like filters. The order you put in our request interceptor will affect the way they process. Okay, then the last one is we are going to try to implement just a simple interceptor to confirm that we can modify the response. For example, we saw an error, a retriable error in response, so we would like to retry it. So basically, I prefer using something like string retry, but let's do this symbol to prove that we can even retry in our interceptor. Okay, let's create, for example, retry interceptor here, and then I'm going to copy it again. So retry it. Okay, so here just make it as simple as possible. So for example, we have the attempts, we define 3 here, and the retriable status is for any response that have too many requests. So here is when we really execute the change. So basically, we send the request and we get the response. And if when we get the status code from response, and if the status code is in the retriable status we define here. So for example, too many, we only have one, but it can be more than one, for example. And then, so if it's not in the retriable status and without any error, so for example, we can bring successfully and we return a response. But if the response status code is in the retriable status, so we're going to retry it again by using a loop here. And when we loop 3 times, so the loop the number of atoms here, then we are going to lock the retry exhausted and through exception, for example. It's just a simple one. Okay, that's it. Then let's to put it into our RestClient. Okay, request tester, new retry. So basically, we can totally create a constructor here to set the atom we would like to have, to set the retriable here, but to keep it simple, just put it like that. And okay, restart it. Then let's send our request again. Okay, you see that okay, our lambda exception, the trade propagation intercepted, and we successfully add the first attempt. Right. Okay, then let's modify our hello service a little bit. Okay, hello service. So instead of return hello world, we configured our API return turmeric request 2 times before we come up with a successful request. And then let's see. Hello service. Man, okay, we already restarted. Let's send getting this time. Then we're going to see lambda interceptor, trace interceptor, and we're going to our retry interceptor. So the first time is failed. Then the first time is failed. Then it's going to loop again to the second times, and it was successful on the third time. Okay, let's configure it. Configure our hello service to 5, for example. Okay, so this time it should be exhausted, and we send again. Okay, so we're going to see we try to send a request 3 times, and after that the retry exhausted. Then we through the exception, set the number of retries, for example. So basically, we can implement our retry mechanism in the interceptor as well. Okay, that's pretty much it for this video. I highly recommend you take a look at the official documentation to get more understanding about RestClient in Spring Framework and Spring Boot. Thank you so much for taking your time watching this video and this series. Hope you can learn something new here, and see you in the next video. Happy coding!